All right, Brendan Taylor here, True School Sports. I'm with the man himself, Shawn Porter, my guy. What's going on, champ?
I'm good, man. I'm sweet, man. How you doing?
I can't complain, man. It's good to see you and talk to you. I mean, you're my the guy I'm working with the whole ABC thing. You know, the amateur boxing champions. Before
hmm
I get into like this boxing talk, I wanted to ask you, Sean, like, so we can let people know and keep them informed. Like, well, any updates with the ABC, the Amateur Boxing Champions app and website?
Yeah, actually got a great update. I don't want to make everything public. I know
Okay, okay,
you know what's going on, but
yeah, yeah,
for everyone else, I think at this point just look for the website to start to kind of really uh transform and really take form in the next couple of months. Uh, First opportunity is going to be at the Hall of Fame this weekend. I'm going to be
okay.
talking to a lot of Hall of Famers, and of course, I got to ask them about their experiences as amateurs. And Lord willing, they will allow me to put those interviews and things like that on the ABC app and website. The app will be coming soon. Just got some things to my lawyer this morning,
Okay.
so the app is in its process now. The website is up, and at this point, we're just looking to reach out to the fighters and get as much information on them as we can until we get to the event that we're looking forward to being a part of. We're just waiting on some other papers to get signed so that we can make that more official and known to the public. But I would say some big things on the horizon for ABC and everybody. Hopefully, if they aren't excited yet, they'll start to see some things that'll get them excited for what ABC has to offer in the future.
Yeah, they'll get real excited about it. I forgot to tell
Yeah,
you this. I'm actually going to the New York City Golden Gloves final because I'm gonna be in New York City next week for Better BF versus Joe Smith Jr. So
I thought that
I'm
was
gonna go
this
check.
weekend. That's next
No, no,
weekend.
that's next weekend. Yeah.
Oh, it's next weekend. Okay.
Okay.
Um, I heard that the New York Golden Gloves isn't as big as it used to be.
No, I mean, well,
I thought it was.
they still have the finals at Madison Square Garden.
Okay.
I know this because I know someone that's in the finals. That's why I'm going. Figure
Sweet.
I check it out while I'm there. So
Absolutely.
something to look forward to.
Most def. Most def.
Yeah. Well, Sean, man, let's get right into it, man. I don't know if you saw this morning, but did you get a chance to watch Inoue versus Donaire?
Yeah.
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 What did you make of it?
I didn't watch it live, and then I wasn't able to find it on the ESPN Plus app. I'm not really that savvy with the phone and with the apps and things like that. So I may have missed it, but I was able to find a stream on YouTube. It was a little blurred. Sounded like it was someone over there in Japan, but to me, it looked like Donaire's game plan was just to be aggressive and take the fight to Inoue, or
Yeah.
however you say his name. I know Sean Vattel corrected me a zillion
You
times.
honestly, the best thing to do if you can't pronounce it is just the monster. Say the
The monster,
monster.
yeah. It
Yeah.
looked like he was trying to contain the monster by being aggressive, and that was working for him until he got caught. And you see immediately that just changed everything, the whole complexion of the fight. We had a different fight in the first round than we did in the second round, and I think
Yeah.
ultimately that the second round he felt the power in the first round. And I think it forced him to kind of be more defensive in the second round. And he's a monster, dude. Man,
Yeah.
anyway, he's a monster.
He's got that fight changing punching power. You know, it's almost like the
Yeah.
minute he seen to land that left hook, you saw Donaire's legs buckle, and he ran out of answers fairly quickly.
So what I'm learning is, or at least it seems to me, at the heavyweight division and at those lightweight divisions, it just looks like the power is immeasurable. And at the heavyweight weight class, you just see guys. It's like a punch. It could be slow, it could be fast, and then the next thing you know, the other dude is just out cold. That's
Yep.
just it's heavyweight power. And then now I'm seeing these lightweights are just throwing these really like devastating shots. It's one punch. It had speed on it, but it didn't really look like it had the impact that like lightweights now, it's like we're seeing some different power at those light divisions.
Yeah, with guys like the Monster, you got Donaire.
Yeah,
These guys are normally they're normally more like a chocolatito to where they're throwing 800 to 1,000 punches and they're hurting you slowly. But now it seems like we're getting more of those guys. I don't know if you're familiar with Kosai Tanaka, but he's another Japanese fighter who was scaling weight classes and
yeah,
beating up on people just like that. So
yeah,
yeah, I was really impressed because nobody's done that to Donaire. Like, who does that to
yeah,
Nonito?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, I went in the first round until he got dropped. And as the first round was proceeding, I was like, that's I was rooting for Donaire. I'm like, that's
Yeah.
what you need, like that kind of boxing style, being aggressive and not allowing him to counterpunch you, get in and get out. Like that's what's gonna get you to the promised land. And then out of nowhere comes a hook. And it was like damn. And so it's like for me, it's two things. Number one, we definitely got to give credit to the monster. But then number two, we got to look at the age of Donaire. We got to look at the mileage of Donaire, and we got to look at the fact that this fight is happening like in Japan. And I just think that the odds are against Donaire now. Where unfortunately for a lot of us who are Nonito fans, I think he's in a position that we don't want to see him in, where he's acceptable to damage now, and I think that's not where we want to see him.
No. He has nothing to prove to me, you, or anybody else on this planet. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's been at the championship level for well over a decade. He can hang his gloves up and be very proud of the career he had. A lot of
Yeah,
fighters would kill to have half that career.
yeah. He had and then like when if you close your eyes and you just kind of think back to like when he first like really burst on the scene. For people who may not have known him from the amateur system, if you knew him from the amateurs, you knew he was going to be everything that he became. But
Yeah,
if you just kind of think about where he first kind of reached that stardom, and his lasted so much longer than a lot of guys, their seconds of fame are so short, but his lasted so long. And then for him to really just kind of recreate himself and go at it for a second time now, and all the way up until last night over there, this morning for us, it's he's had a special career to watch, and I'm happy that I was able to see it.
did you guys come up with the amateurs together?
No, we didn't. And I was just about to say, like, I don't want to retire him prematurely or anything like that. But when so here's my thing. When you
Okay.
can't perform the way you used to perform, more chances than not, that's when you should start to say to yourself, how can I leave this sport in a way that everybody is going to respect me and appreciate me? And I think he's in a position now. I could be wrong, but it just looks to me like he might be in a position where he won't be able to perform the way he has always
Yeah.
performed. And for me, when you reach that point, that's when it's time for you to kind of salute your way out. All that being said, we didn't come up in the amateurs together, but his name was definitely echoed along my way to the men's division in the
Ring
amateur
bells.
system. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, now with that win, Sean, a lot of people are trying to figure out what's going to be the next move for the monster. Maybe they're saying like a move to 122, and a lot of people are having these fantasies about him maybe fighting Stephen Fulton, who also had a great performance this past weekend. What are your thoughts on like the monster versus Fulton at 122, like a big super fight?
yeah, man. I think the world is ready for some super fights like that. Every fighter has their own um,
Like roadmap?
path, yeah,
Yeah.
to greatness. All that being said, because my hesitation is I'm trying to really think, are both these guys in a position to make a big fight like this happen? And no
Yeah.
matter the outcome, can they both continue their careers? Of course, there's got to be a winner and a loser, and of course, somebody's gonna, essentially in a losing effort, maybe a little bit in the rankings or whatever. But are both of these guys in a position where if that were to happen, they could survive that and come right back. I do think that as I kind of analyze that right now, the world's ready for it. I think if both fighters say they're ready for it, I think they should give that to us. I think
Yeah.
that I think that we've seen the business of boxing hold back some greatness, and we've seen the business of boxing work to that greatness. And obviously we hope for the latter, and this is definitely that situation.
Yeah, because Fulton, I mean, he had a great performance against Danny Armand. He's been beating a lot of these pressure fighters, like really good pressure fighters, like your Angelo Leos, your Figueroas, your Ramons. I think I'm ready to see Fulton in there with like a dangerous boxer puncher type style. See how he deals with that kind of a style that the monster brings to the table.
That's what Inoue is, and
Yeah,
I think some fighters get spoiled by the knockout. Some fighters get spoiled by win after win after win, and they kind of lose track of themselves, whether that's training or maybe not coming to the fight mentally as prepared as they should be. I don't think no, excuse me. I don't think Inoue is the type of fighter that, no matter what he just did to Nonito, I don't think he's going to come to the ring any less than who he's been in this present time. All that being said, the monster is a nightmare for Fulton.
yeah. Oh, you think so?
I think
Because
so because of his length and or Inoue, because of Inoue's length and his size. I think that even though he's in a lower division, I think that he would fill out at 126, and I think that he'd be a problem.
yeah, yeah. Because I remember many years ago when Fulton was a prospect, he hasn't really shown any stamina problems recently. But I remember when he fought like Adam Lopez towards the back half of that fight. We've if you paid attention to his career enough, you would know that like Fulton has had stamina problems at times, but just not recently because none of these guys have been on that level to do that to him.
Yeah, when you talk about a guy and stamina, it's a fight. Just get you're not like me, for instance. Everybody
Yeah,
always talked about my conditioning in fights. I would fight the last round like I fought the first round, but I trained like that, and I had that type of mentality. Some guys earlier on, or Fulton that you're talking about, it may not have been his conditioning. It may just have been a mental conditioning that he
yeah.
didn't show in the ring. So, I think that is a fantastic fight for the world and for both those guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We got a question from my man Felipe. He says, "Make sure you ask him how it was fighting Usyk." So I guess I'll ask, what was it like? What was it like fighting Alexander Usyk in the amateurs?
I say this all the time publicly that I have a photographic memory, and I'm not just saying that, like, it's true. I can see that fight like almost from beginning to end, and that fight I hope that somebody has that fight on film. If we could find that fight and he was okay with it, we could probably sell that and make some money on it. It was 4 rounds. It was
Okay.
2 minutes a round. I think that would have been that's a fight for everybody to see. Honestly, man, it was a pure boxing match, man. It was like both of us were boxing, and it just was fantastic. I remember the scores were very very slim. I think he was up the first round by like maybe 1 point or 2 points. And
Okay.
then the second round, it might have been tied. And then the third round, I think I was up by 1 point. I mean, it was a very, just really good boxing match.
Sounds like it was razor close. Like
It
anything
was,
could have shifted
it
that
was,
fight.
it was razor close. I won the match by 2 points, and I'll never forget. I caught him with a straight right hand in the last round that buckled him. And then after it buckled him, I just continued to apply pressure at that point, and I didn't allow him to come back. And I mean, I ended up winning the fight, and I won the fight by like 2 points. It was a great fight, man. I don't know, man. I need to go to work to find that.
Yeah, you do. You gotta
I do,
scour
man.
the world.
because here's the thing when you talk about Shawn Porter 147 fighting Alexander Usyk now a heavyweight,
Yeah, it's
you're
crazy to
like
think.
there's no way. And then when you realize like we both were 165, you start to kind of buy into okay, that fight could have happened and could have been good. It was fantastic. It was no less than great.
Was there anything that Usyk did in the ring that surprised you back then, or anything that
No,
stood out? Anything that
there
stood out
was
about him?
there was nothing that surprised me. He was a southpaw that liked to one step back and try to counterpunch. There was nothing new to me because I had seen that from Demetrius Andrade. I beat
Mm.
him fighting that same type of style, and so it was like it was that along with the fact that get out of here. It was it was that along with the fact that that night it was USA versus Ukraine,
Okay.
uh, 13 divisions. Uh, Keith Thurman was 152. I was 165. Everybody that fought before Keith lost, and Keith and I are in the back room together, seeing loss after loss, and we like looked at each other and was like, we ain't getting out of here losing. Like it ain't happening. Keith
Man,
goes out there and he wins his fight. So he's the first fighter from the US to
to win.
represent. Yeah, and then now I'm like I'm not just fighting against Usyk. I'm also fighting against the fact that like I gotta do what Keith just did, I gotta do it too. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah,
it's just like the energy and everything around that specific fight for me, it really at the end of the night, I think that everything kind of like was in position for me to win that fight between me having fought that style before and me having gone up against bigger and taller guys before and Keith winning his match and nobody else was able to win and all those different types of energies and stuff like that, man. It was fantastic. There was nothing that surprised me about Usyk. I just remember him being a really good boxer, and we were like really going like tit for tat, like back and forth. It
yeah.
was a really good boxing match. It really was.
We need that tape, man. So someone out
I,
there help Sean find the tape.
I have very I'm not confident that I can find tape on that, and that's why I always like do the best I can to really paint the picture of that fight because it was a great fight for an amateur match, and
Yeah,
it's like I just said, like I think maybe if you didn't know who we were, you wouldn't buy it. But knowing who both fighters are, knowing that we were at that point in time, I think we both were 20 or 21. Yeah, I think we we're both 20 years old. I think that really that we were in the primes of our amateur careers at that point. Yeah.
yeah. Hey, well, that was great. That was great stuff, Sean. I hope one day we can get that tape for the boxing fans to be
I do
something.
too.
Yeah. Sean, I wanted to ask, man, because I know you've been around Devin Haney a lot, being out there in Vegas. Talk to us, man, about the performance, against George Kambosos.
Yeah, man. Hoping to have him on the Portaway podcast soon. Uh, the fight went the fight went exactly how I thought it would go for for
Devin.
excuse me for Devin. Yeah, I still got Nonito's name in my head. The fight went exactly the way I thought it would go for Devin. I can honestly say it was the way I hoped it would go for Devin and his team. Um, I think Kambosos was a little underprepared, and I think he'll be more prepared for the rematch. You
I hope
know,
so. I hope so.
but just sticking with what we saw. We saw a great jab. I think we'll see a better jab in the rematch. To be honest with you, because now not only has Kambosos had a chance to see Haney's speed and his reach and get a feel for who he is and his presence in the ring, that has a lot to do with how rematches play out. But on the other side of that, of course, we can say the exact same thing for Devin Haney. So Devin now knows exactly where he needs to be to land that jab. So we'll see a better jab from Haney in the rematch. All that being said, I mean everything was there for Devin. The jab was there, the movement was there, the timing was there. His ability to read Kambosos and know what he was going to throw before he threw it,
Yeah,
knowing which way he was going to step before he stepped. Everything was in line for Devin this first fight. I scored it 10-2 for Devin, and
that's
I think the widest scorecard might have been 9-3. I could be
yeah.
wrong. Yeah,
Something like that. That the best part for me of what I really liked about Devin's performance was the feints, the way he was able to neutralize George with the feints off the jab and to set up the jab. He doesn't really
yeah,
get a lot of credit for feints, and maybe part of the reasons why like in other performances I feel like maybe he's underwhelmed at times is because I think he didn't utilize the feints enough. He would be a jab dominant fighter, but he wouldn't necessarily feint his way before the jab
yeah,
or
yeah.
set up off of it. So that to me was really encouraging to see from Devin.
And I think anybody that watches me, one thing I kind of preach on is consistency. Early in the fight, you see both guys throwing feints, and it was I had it. I think after I could be wrong, but after 5 rounds, I think I had it 3-2 for Devin. I could be
Yep.
wrong, but but both guys were using the feints very well, and it was kind of a back and forth thing. The consistency of Devin to continue to use the feints and work off the jab is what led him to his victory. Kambosos on the other side of that stopped utilizing his offense. He stopped trying to set up offense, and he stopped using feints. And ultimately, I think that's what kind of pushed him into the direction of not being able to use offense and playing catch up in the second half of the fight.
Yeah. No, that sounds about right. And then like
Yeah.
George, like you mentioned him being underprepared, and that kind of brings me to like something I've been talking about on my channel this week is like when you go from being the contender or the guy that is the underdog that nobody expects anything of, when you finally win those belts, Sean, because you've been in that position, how hard is it to perform when there's actually like legitimate expectations placed on you, going from
Yeah.
contender to champion?
Yeah. You see, I won against Devin Alexander, and then I fought Paulie Malignaggi. And
Mm-hmm.
even though I had the belt, I was still regarded as the underdog because of everything that Paulie had done. So my mindset didn't change. I still had the chip on my shoulder and the energy to prove everyone wrong and prove those who believed right. I think it's a little different when people start to applaud. When people start to applaud, you get a little complacent. You feel like things are going to always go your way, and you may not be able to mentally check in when things don't go your way. So you fast forward, and I have next Kell Brook. Things
Yeah.
aren't going my way for 12 rounds. Things aren't going my way, and it never clicked to me mentally that I needed to change. The only thing that I knew was I'm going to continue to do this, and eventually it's going to work. It never did. Kambosos basically went at Dev the exact same way for 12 rounds. He was a step behind Devin the entire fight, or uh, at the least the last 7 rounds, and he had no way of setting up offense. And I think in a rematch, it's going to force him to go back to the drawing board. It's gonna humble him. He's going to realize some things about himself. I think if he's got the right training, he'll be able to correct some errors. We'll get a more exciting rematch. And it's a rematch that while I'm rooting for Devin, I
Mm-hmm.
still think Devin will win the rematch because Devin's going to make some adjustments too.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, because I was very let down. I thought that I was hoping the fight would be more competitive, and it was one of the bigger letdowns for me because I thought I was one of the people that bought into George a little bit. I thought he was one of those guys that when he wins the belt, they say you get 20% better when you become the champion. I felt like with his mindset, that's the kind of guy he was. But
Everybody is different, man. You never know what's gonna happen.
mhm.
Quiet as it's kept, we don't know what was it going on in his personal life that may have kept him from doing everything he needed to do on Fight Night. I'm not making any excuses. All I'm saying is for those, even myself, who was let down by Kambosos. I expected so much more from
Yeah.
Kambosos. I expected the first 5 rounds. I expected that for 12 rounds, and we didn't get that, largely in part because of Devin Haney. But with all that being said, I got to figure that this is that gut check now for Kambosos, and I think we'll get a much more competitive and exciting second fight.
Yeah, now we're gonna really learn about who George Kambosos truly is now that he's taken a loss in his career.
Yeah, and then real quick, because I did bring into play his personal life, and again, like not to make any excuses, but you guys really don't know what it takes to be a world champion boxer. And when you become a world champion boxer, it's like if you didn't already have a world champion mindset and a world champion lifestyle, when things change, you may not know how to adapt to all of them. We can look at the tour that Kambosos did. It was definitely well deserved,
Yeah,
but he did
yeah,
a tour, and there was so much that I'm sure he continued to do once he was in Australia, and the list goes on. So again, just going back to that gut check and going back to sometimes the things that happen in your personal life beyond becoming a world champion can affect your performance on fight night.
yeah. No, absolutely. I know one thing he changed in his preparation for sure is that because he did his last 5 or 6 training camps down here in South Florida because he used to train not too far from where I live, and
Yeah, no.
he built a gym. I remember I asked him like after he beat Haney, I saw him at the MGM Grand when I was with Sean Tatel, and he was there at the Haney Jojo Diaz press conference, and I asked him. I
Yeah.
said, when you come back to South Florida, I want an interview or whatever, and he was like, well, I'm not coming back to South Florida. I'm building a gym in Australia. And then and
Yeah.
so he did change that. I'm not gonna say that's the reason why he lost, but it is
Yeah.
there was a difference in this fight as opposed to the last 4 or 5 fights. So you gotta consider it.
Yeah, I was gonna say here, last thing we say on this, but when you consider, for me, everything, there's a time and a place. I mean, it's a saying, and we all know that. It sounds cliche, but there's a time and a place. Was your first fight as a world champion, was that the right time for you to have your own place? Or should you
No.
have continued to do what got you there to get you through that moment and then start to adapt into having your own place and being able to do things in your own space and things like that. So maybe in the rematch he comes back to South Florida. Honestly, I can't imagine he does that. He's built a place in Australia,
It's a
and
nice
so I
place
think
too.
now yeah, I was gonna say I think now he's got to live with that decision, but I think now he'll be more tuned in, and he's gonna right some wrongs. I can guarantee you that.
Okay, okay. Well, Sean, that 168 super middleweight's a very hot division right now. We had David Morrell Jr. who scored another knockout victory, and he's
Yeah.
7-0, and he looks like $1 million every fight. He's calling out the top names, and it seems like the guy that he really wants is David Benavidez Jr. What do you make of David Morrell so far in his boxing career, and how do you think, what do you think about a match with him and David Benavidez?
Yeah, I'm gonna respectfully disagree with you. I don't think he looks like $1 million. I think
Okay, okay,
I think he looks like maybe half of that.
okay.
I think that he's a really good boxer. I think that on paper, he's better than what he's shown, especially in his very last fight. And here's my thing. My thing isn't that he got hit while punching and he took some punches and things like that in his fight. I mean, give the kid credit. He took some punches that looked pretty strong, and he continued to fight and do what he had to do to get the victory. But for me, I just want to see him be a little bit more professional when he's in the ring with guys at the level that this Henderson guy, I think
Yeah,
his name was Henderson,
Kelvin
that this
Henderson. Yeah,
yeah, that this Henderson guy was at. I don't think he was world championship level. And if you're saying you're world championship level, it should be extremely evident, not through a 3 round or a 4 round knockout, but through practically every moment of the fight. You're supposed to move differently. You're supposed to punch differently. We're supposed to see you setting this guy up and laying him out. And if he ain't being laid out, we're supposed to see you have him on the ropes and landing these shots and creating these moves that shows us what level you're on. And I didn't see that in this fight from Morrell. Does he have that in him? Yes, I do believe that he has it in him. But when the lights come on, you got to be able to hone in on that energy and make it work for you. And I think that they got to get him out of Minnesota. I think that he's created a fan base there, which is
Yeah.
great. You got to get him out of Minnesota. You got to get him in bigger stadiums, bigger arenas, in front of bigger crowds, so that he knows what that's like before he gets in the ring with the David Benavidez.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
And you got to get him in the ring with some stiffer competition.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because he's
Excuse me,
been.
I'm sorry. Last thing I'm going to say.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
That can force him to box so that he can show the skills that he has. I don't think that anyone's forced him to be at the level that we believe him to be at.
Yeah, the only fight where he's gone the distance so far was his third pro fight when he fought the guy Lennox Allen when he won the WBA interim belt.
Yeah.
Listen, man, I never thought about that point, but you brought up a great point about Minnesota because he's been the cash cow of the Armory. You know, he's been there.
You got to applaud it. It's great. We saw Terrence Crawford do it in Omaha. We've seen other guys do it in their respective cities. I mean, look at what Errol Spence Jr. has been able to do in Dallas. But when we talk about, hey man, you got Crawford, where's this fight going to be? Well, I love it to be in Dallas, but if it's not in Dallas, it don't matter. You got to create that mindset, and you don't get that mindset from continuing to fight at home.
Yeah, you got to get outside of your comfort zone, that type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough. You know, Shawn, like I know you were at the Tank Rolly fight. And Tank was pretty patient and scored a very devastating shot. And you know, Rolly, to his credit, he had some moments in the fight. But what did you make of that whole fight, Tank versus Rolly, the spectacle that it was?
Yeah, you can go watch what I felt about that on the Porter Way podcast.
There you go. Okay.
I was just playing. And I'll make it quick because I know I've been long-winded, but
no, I'm listening. It's great.
I think that Rolly team developed the game plan. I think they surprised the world because they were very poised from beginning to almost the end of that fight, but they were able to really just kind of neutralize Tank, and for the sake of words, force Tank to fight going backwards. And while I had Tank winning the fight, I saw a little bit of a replay, and I could understand why people had Rolly winning the fight. Tank is always going to have the X factor. He's always going to, and people think that his X factor is his power. Tank's X factor is the fact that he has the ability to do everything. He can box on the outside. He can box on the inside. He can body punch. He can use the jab. He can box going backwards. He can be aggressive. He's got speed. He's got quickness. He can counter punch. He's got power. He is just a well-rounded boxer, and that's what makes him the X factor. And everybody thinks that it's his power. Power's great, but his X factor is the fact that he'll always be able to beat you no matter what. If you're fast, guess what? He's fast, but he's strong. If you're strong, he's strong, but he's fast. If you're quick, he's quick too. He can catch up to you. If you can box from the outside, he can box and set you up, or box and draw you in, and the whole list goes on. You know what I mean? So he's a well-rounded fighter. He's the X factor. He's my number one guy at 135. Ooh. Even though Devin Haney has all of the belts, I still think that that's a pick'em fight. That obviously we were asking Leonard Ellaby about that fight this weekend, and he wasn't really giving it to us, but I wouldn't hate that fight for either of these guys next year. I don't think it happens this year, especially with the rematch clause for Kambosos and Devin Haney. I think that at 135, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of great fights to be made at 135, but for Tank specifically, I think the two that I would want to see him in the most is Lomachenko and or Devin Haney.
that Lomachenko fight's been one that's been on the radar for a long time.
Yeah,
Tank and the other promotions.
yeah.
I don't want to. It seems like they have had a reluctance to fight him because I mean they've always said the narrative of like, well, he's older, so I don't gotta rush. I think that's a fight they should make.
That right there. I I didn't think about it until just now. And I'm not even gonna front and say that I would have said this to Leonard Ellerby directly.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. And this is just how I feel. In other things we call it freezing them out. I think that they're gonna prolong that, let Lomachenko get a little older,
hmm
and when they feel comfortable about it, then they'll start to try to force that fight. But I don't see them forcing that fight tomorrow.
no,
Everything, also respect to Lomachenko, everything that he's doing for his country. We hope the best for his country and for him. I pray to God he stays safe over there with everything that's going on. But if we just talk about him getting back in the boxing ring, we don't know when he's going to get back in the ring. I hope that this does not slow down him as a fighter. If he could get back in the ring this year, I don't see them forcing that fight this year. I
yeah,
could see Lomachenko and his team forcing it. All due respect to Leonard Ellerby, Mayweather Promotions, I don't see them forcing that right now. It's a business, and I know how the business goes.
yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that. They still got plenty of other options in house, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Shawn, you're probably out of everybody on earth, you're probably the person that could best speak to the whole Spence Crawford super fight.
Not speaking
No,
to it.
not speaking
No,
to it.
not
Oh,
speaking
okay,
to it.
okay.
I'm encouraging everybody to be patient. Uh, I want this fight to happen in Las Vegas. I want it to happen at Allegiant Stadium in the fall. I think it's a great fall fight. The day before a Oakland Raiders game, I think it would. I think it would sell. I think it would do amazing. Whether or not they do that is on them. But X's and O's, who wins, all those types of things, I'm not even going to talk about it until it's
I
it's a
got you.
done deal
I got you.
because I don't want any heat any sooner than it's going to come.
I got you. Well, I'm glad you're preaching the message of patience, man, because that's one that I think I need to hear about Spence and Carver. I've been
Yeah,
very frustrated about that fight,
yeah,
because
yeah.
it's
You,
it's
you got to be patient, especially with the way that everything kind of transpired in the last 2 to 3 years between the pandemic and everything that happened with Errol Spence Jr. Just at this point, we just got to be patient.
okay. All right. Um, did you hear
Let
about
me let me get 3 more minutes, please.
Okay, okay, okay.
Is that good for you?
That's good, man. I know you got things to do, so I
Yeah,
I
yeah,
appreciate the time. I guess the question I'll ask you, because on a lighter note, I know you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you said one time that Marvin Hagler was your favorite fighter. Is that correct? Your favorite fighter?
hmm
So I
hmm
wanted to ask you, why is Marvin Hagler your favorite fighter, and what is your favorite Marvin Hagler fight?
Yeah. Favorite Marvin Hagler fight is what made me a big fan of his. He was fighting Tommy Hearns, and I just had to. Back then, we had tapes, cassette tapes, and I watched that fight. I don't know how many times, but what resonated with me was the fact that it was the short guy going against the tall guy,
Yeah,
and what resonated with me was the fact that Hagler did not stop coming forward, and I'm known as a aggressive forward fighter, and in the moments where I was able to watch that fight as a kid, something told me be like that, and that's the way you should box. And so for my career and as a fighter, I always just try to not completely emulate Marvin Hagler, but I try to be a boxer puncher. I think that a lot of fighters talk about being a boxer puncher, and he to me he's the definition of a boxer puncher. Nobody did it better than him, and I just wanted to do that. I wanted to be a boxer puncher. I didn't want to be put in a box and just be a brawler. I didn't want to be put in a box and just be somebody that was fast and could move. I wanted to be able to kind of do it all. And so as a kid, seeing that fight and seeing the crowd on the tape and all that. That kind of was what I was after when I said I wanted to be a pro boxer. I kind of was after everything that Marvin Hagler did, and then the other side of that was having the opportunity to meet him and watch him move around the room. I definitely picked the best person that I could have ever picked to want to be like.
Yeah, Marvin Hagler, a man of integrity, intensity, and just true professional. And I think those same qualities could resonate with your career. Those things resonate in your career.
I hope people say the exact same thing about me.
Yeah, I would say that.
I try to allow my integrity to present itself before everyone. I've always tried to be a professional. My dad has always pushed me to be a professional. And you guys, I think you guys can see the intensity in everything that I do. Everybody says I'm the hardest working man in boxing right now, and it's just, I think if anything, you're seeing the intensity of me wanting and going after what I want.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I guess on that note, Shawn, I'll let you go.
Let's do this again.
Let's do it again, man. I really enjoyed it. I learned some things. You even gave me new perspectives on some subjects, so it was great.
Yeah. Hey, and then check it out. I mean, I think you learned something else. You cold text me and say, "Hey, how do you feel about doing an interview with me?" Do it again. Just cold text me. Hey, can we get together and we'll do it again?
Okay, I'll text you again.
All right, good deal. Talk soon.
All right,
I'll be
Shawn.
talking to you offline anyway. So
okay, all right, Shawn.
Later, boss.
All right, take care. So there you have it, the man right there himself, Showtime Shawn Porter, man. The guy that me and him we're working hand in hand, the amateur boxing champions. It's in progress. It's in development. We're gonna be taking the coverage of amateur boxing to levels in which the world has never seen. Me, Shawn Porter, Sean Tittel, powerhouses in the boxing media game coming together for the greater good of the sweet science of boxing. But I told you guys I'm making it a point to start getting more guests on the show, on the channel, because you guys don't want to see me and Pop sit in this room and yap all day. So we're getting people here, fighters, trainers, managers, whoever the case may be. But listen, guys, I'm gonna get up on out of here. I hope you guys have been enjoying the content over the last couple of days. We were live this morning. We went live yesterday evening. I'm putting in that work, and hopefully you guys are enjoying it, and the content is resonating with you guys. So man, you guys take care. I'll be live probably tomorrow. I'm not sure if it'll be with me and my dad or with somebody else. We'll see. But either way, we'll be live. Keep supporting True School Sports. Keep supporting the channel. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me. But I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.